Okay, it is 8:28 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's January 26, 2018, and we're on the road again. And we've got Lisa and Sheila on the line, and Katie's in another vehicle. And no, Lisa and Sheila are not driving while they're talking. So we're going to do just a brief recap tonight of the alleged court case, or the all caps conversation for today in Eastern District of Tennessee Court. And then I will do another one later with Katie, and I may hold this and move them together or not, but you'll know when you're listening to it which one I did.
It will be done.
Yeah, it's been a weird day. Okay, so Lisa, you want to go first? I'd love to have what your any instructions were coming to you, what your feel of the courtroom was. Maybe jump off from there.
Yes. Today was fabulous. It was a very exciting day for me, and fabulous. Did I mention it was fabulous? I'm sorry. Okay, I'm a little giddy with excitement.
Yeah, I think we got that.
Which is nice because I have to drive, so I have the energy and the wherewithal to do this, so that's lovely. Yeah, so I woke up this morning extremely focused. So I've been really, really connected and in touch, and so I just made that my focus to stay really close to my internal guidance and allow it to lead. And so it was just magical what happened today. So we finished up this morning with the Federal Reserve fellow, Sean O'Malley. And that was beautiful.
Yeah, Mr. Financial Intelligence.
Yeah, I'll go into what the commands were and all of that because I just like to keep it brief, and I could talk for days about just that event.
Yeah.
So I'll just say this, that it was beautiful in all ways. His testimony, the room itself, everything really came together. And then we had, did we break after the testimony? I kind of get foggy about
After the FedRes?
Yes.
There was a short break, yes, and
then that's when they brought in.
There was that other fellow. I can't even remember.
They brought in two other people.
Oh, the guy from the Ford, the guy from the Ford dealership. Yeah, and I left for that. You were there for that.
Yeah, the Ford dealership guy. So this would have been the person who Randy would have purchased the pickup truck, but he didn't.
Right.
So I was unclear why they brought that up until the end.
And what was that? What was the reason they wound around for bringing it up?
In my opinion, because we didn't find this out until Randy did his cross-examination, but this guy was a little suspicious of Randy, and we didn't hear anything like that before from the RV dealership at all.
Right.
And so that was kind of rather interesting to me. And he
was suspicious because of the fact that Randy asked for the manufacturer's certificate of origin.
Yes.
And apparently they've never had anyone ask for that before. Right? And apparently they also didn't know how to get it, supposedly, whether that's true.
They didn't even know what they're saying is they didn't know what it was. And they don't know because they never see it, they never access it, because all roads lead to Rome, and that's where it goes.
That's correct.
So Randy then cross-examined him with the question, were you aware that a gentleman in this room impersonated you upon my first visit to your dealership.
Impersonated somebody? Is that what you just said?
Yes, I did. And behind me, a gentleman stood up and identified himself
as Jason Pack, Special Agent Jason Pack,
with the FBI. And Randy said that his experience was the first time he went there, that gentleman who was identified today in the courtroom as Special Agent Jason Pack presented himself as the manager of the dealership and came out of that office as though that was his office. Well, this upset the prosecution, who
I bet.
in redirection
I bet.
said to our witness, so do you think that you would now, if somebody was in your office impersonating you? And he said, yeah, I would think so. And she said, that is all. So
now tell what your experience was with Special Agent Jason Pack.
Well, I thought that was kind of interesting because, you know, as he was sitting behind me this morning, he also was the feller that greeted me and Katie when we came to Mr. Shirley's courtroom
back in October.
Uh-huh.
And he was presenting as though he was I thought, he didn't introduce himself that way, but he conducted himself that way, as though he was one of, like, the bailiffs or the people in the court.
Yeah, he's a chameleon agent.
Yes, he is, isn't he? Because he's even dressed
well, no,
like
that's their training. I mean, that's his job.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so I found that rather interesting. And actually, he is the friendliest of all of the agents, and he is one of the only ones who can look me in my eye and have a conversation with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that interesting. We'll just leave that there.
Okay.
Okay. So then we went to lunch after that witness was excused, and when we returned from lunch, the prosecution, did they rest before lunch?
Well, no. There was so the next witness after lunch, I must apologize as I entered the courtroom a bit behind everyone else as I stopped for the restroom, and I didn't catch this feller's name. But he was some sort of, I know, wait a minute. I don't know his name, but I know what he did. He is the guy who listens to all of the conversations in a jailhouse.
Oh, here it is, BZ.
I knew this was coming, didn't you, BZ?
So he's the one I say hi to all the time.
Yes, apparently he must be. And apparently you and Randy had a conversation in which you were talking about upcoming movies. I guess movie trailers.
Uh-huh.
And there was and apparently there was a movie coming up that had something to do, Randy was telling you about an upcoming movie where people were robbing the Federal Reserve. And you both had a good chuckle over it.
Yeah, and what's interesting is in the room, Patricia put that, and I happened to, I wasn't by the computer much today, but I happened to glance by, and I had to think for a minute, and I thought, well, I don't see a lot of movies, so I had to think about it for a minute. So I did a search, but a movie immediately came to mind. So I did a search on Google to see if I could, but I couldn't remember the name of the movie. So I could see if I could picture the movie, because this movie I did remember talking to Randy about. So I put in the search terms for a movie where they talk about robbing the Federal Reserve. I figured, that would be good search terms. So the one I was looking for didn't come up. The first one that did come up was, let's see if I can find where I wrote it here, because I don't even remember. Mad Money, which came out in 2008, I think. I've never seen it. Don't ever recall talking about a movie of that title. The movie I was looking for is called Now You See Me. And I smiled and I thought, well, if they're talking about that, then that would actually be a very helpful, although not to the prosecution's case, movie to talk about, because it's really all about quantum, that movie.
Oh, well, to be honest with you, I'm not sure why they brought that up.
Well, what they did, didn't they, Bill's take on it, Tehran's take on it was that they said they were alleging that he was talking to Heather.
Well, they said your name. Yeah.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Oh, they said your name in open court. Yeah.
And IUB.
Yes, and of course they were talking about the IUB.
So they just instructed all of the...
Yes, they instructed everyone. Yes, and it came out that that's where Randy found all of Heather's papers that he can't talk about here in court. Yeah, he started to talk about the UCC filings, and of course there was an objection.
Right.
Now that was when he was on the stand. Yeah, but actually we haven't got that part. But this fella that was, verifying that this was indeed a call that was recorded in the jail, because all calls are recorded and all that. Really,
and sometimes double recorded.
Yeah, I just can't.
Because I published them.
Not. Say again?
I said sometimes they're double recorded because I published them.
Ah, yeah, that's right. That's right. Absolutely. Well, I really, to be honest, I didn't see the point in bringing that up.
Well, and it was kind of funny because they did nothing with it. We listened to it, and then they excused.
Yeah, they excused.
Was it a good call?
Well, it was a snippet. It was 1 minute and 29 seconds.
Yes.
And you guys were talking about movie trailers, and I know why they must have done it.
Because these days, don't you know, there's an easier way to rob the Federal Reserve.
Yes, apparently that is why. That's right.
Yeah.
But so after that fella, the government has now rested their case. They have rested their case.
So they finished up strong. Am I? This was the last person they had as a witness. Yeah. Is that correct? So they finished up strong. They came on strong at the end of their case. Okay, good. I just wanted just wanted to clear that up. Okay.
Yeah. The 1 minute and 29 second blip.
With me and the IUB. Right before
you and the IUB. Yeah.
Right before the weekend where people can go, and movie tours right before people can go. Okay, good. That's good.
Yeah. and then the next thing that was on tap was Randy did his opening statement.
Well, wait a second.
Before you finish, I was looking for this before you finish this. So in the notes that Patricia put in, she's saying there are call excerpts that are, then they had call and excerpts of her discussing something, which I'm not going to go through. And then she says, as I walked out heading to get him 2 more ties, so this is Patricia walking out of the courtroom going to get some stuff for Randy to give back to the U.S. Marshals. This guy who has been in the courtroom gallery for a few days walked out too. I guess it was Wednesday he made a comment. His mother-in-law was in town visiting home, and his wife's newborn, and he's got to get out for some peace and quiet. That was when he was in on Wednesday. And as we were walking out, he mentioned the first call, which was the call you just relayed, and said, hey, that's the lady who has the website. I recognized her laugh.
Well, the interesting thing about that whole business, we never heard the call regarding Patricia. No. They must have decided not to use any of that.
Yes, that was a wise decision.
Yeah, I figured as much.
We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at
that. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna ask Lisa to tell you about Randy's opening statement, because I'm afraid I might get too emotional, and she paid really much closer attention. The emotion that came through, I felt Randy's heart so big in that opening statement, and I'm just going to let Lisa take over this one.
Okay, well, here's what I want to say. Before we get to Randy's, and before the jury is even led back into the room, we have a little sort of, court is taking care of business moment, and Heather and the judge invites any motion now that the defense would like to put in. And this is where Heather enters the first precipice and the second one, is what it looked like to me.
Uh-huh.
And then Randy adopted that.
Good.
And then they kind of worked out that Randy would go first, and he would like to do an opening statement, and he would also like to testify. He would like to take the stand.
Mm-hmm.
And the judge instructed him that being that he is representing himself, he will not have anyone to question him, so he can then proceed with a factual narrative.
Yeah.
And he can get his facts out, and then he can be cross-examined by the prosecution, and as well as Heather would have a chance to redirect, as she is also on the case. And then we would hear from Heather.
Mm-hmm.
So Heather first spoke before, so then Heather said, okay, then she spoke to him and said,
okay, who's the him? Who's the him?
Oh, I'm sorry, to the judge.
Okay.
And she said that she had to, go to the podium, and she said, based upon, she had the law book there, and she quoted a law to him.
It was busy. She was presenting a motion, and under Rule 29, she wanted to enter, I believe it was document 101. Well, that was the two precipices, right?
98, and so she wants that. No, she wanted to enter 101, which is the standing precipice. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Which is the same as 98, except that she updated the title to have standing in it. Okay. And what was the other document she wanted to do under Rule 29?
I want to say there was a 101A and a 101B, but I apologize. My notebook is in the back.
Yeah.
I'm sure Katie has that in her notebook.
Yeah, I didn't get any of that information.
Okay. All right.
What was interesting to me were the words that she was saying, that they did not prove that there was any intent to fraud anyone.
Yeah, because apparently in order to prove fraud, there has to be intent to commit fraud.
Yes.
And so then he just said, I thought he was going to rule on it right then and say, I don't know, I thought he'd do something, but he said, I'll take that under consideration. Okay, so, and he brought the jury in.
Rule 29, motion for a judgment of acquittal. This is from the Cornell Law School Legal Information Institute. A, before submission to the jury, after the government closes its evidence, or after the close of all the evidence, the court on the defendant's motion must enter a judgment of acquittal of any offense for which the evidence is insufficient to sustain a conviction. The court may on its own consider whether the evidence is insufficient to sustain a conviction. If the court denies a motion for a judgment of acquittal at the close of the government's evidence, the defendant may offer evidence without having reserved the right to do so. Can you play chess?
Well,
I'm not going to go on to read the rest of this. I will publish it on the IUV.
Okay, great. So we'll just direct everybody to go to the IUV.com, i-uv.com, and take a look at Rule 29. However, what I wanted to say before I turn it back over to Lisa is that after Heather entered those motions under Rule 29, of course, as you might guess, Ms. Davidson objected to that and stated, and then she went in and stated something else under Rule 29 and said that there was, that the government felt that there was plenty of sufficient evidence. And of course, the judge at that point is when he decided that he would take it under advisement.
I bet he would.
I have to say here, too, before I hand it back over to Lisa. Lisa said this, too. It looks to me like this judge is sort of enjoying this case, and what I mean by that, he seems very open. I'm not certain that this guy is just going to hand it over to the government. He seems open. He seems, I mean, I'm sure that there's some bias there, but I don't know. There's a lot of things changing. Energy is moving in that courtroom, and something shifted this afternoon big time.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I'm going to turn it over to Lisa.
Would you see Christian Alexander there today?
Yes, Christian Alexander was there in the courtroom. He did stay all day, and he also joined us again for lunch today.
Great, and he's from Backroom Knox. I want to plug his Facebook page, Backroom Knox.
Backroom
Facebook
Knox.
/ Backroom Knox. Okay, yeah, keep going.
Yes, and he is now also a part of Conscious Conversation Central Facebook page. He has to be added to that as well, so you guys can look out for him there. And I will say about this young man that he, at least to me, seems, again, a very open-minded and fair individual who is, at this point in my very early observations, at least capable of opening his mind and considering things before just willy-nilly tossing them out, which is what generally you come up against when you're dealing with members of the press. So at any rate, he was there, and he did get a chance at lunch to actually talk to Heather. And I think that, as we all know,
Christian did.
Yeah,
that's okay.
So
now that's that's very interesting. Did he approach her, or did she approach him?
Actually, he was sitting at the table, and she came and sat down and ate with us.
Okay.
And so that's how that happened.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, we were all walking over for lunch, or I wasn't already there, and, you know, he was with the rest of the gang.
Yeah, I'm just asking that as a point of clarification for the rules of the court. That's fine. Okay.
Oh. Okay.
That's okay. Go ahead. So,
I got you. Okay.
So take us, was there something that you want to highlight from the, because I'm trying to get you guys back on the road. So was there something that you wanted to highlight from the lunch conversation, or you want to go take us back into the courtroom?
Well, really, no. Let's go back into the courtroom, because I was kind of out of it at that point, so I wasn't paying too close attention to the lunchroom conversation. So
okay, let me ask you both a clarifying question, Lisa, because you were speaking more about the phone call when my voice, and you clearly heard them state that Randall Keith Bean was talking to, well, I'm sure they used my full name because they're fed, so was talking to me on the phone. Is that what how they declared it? Not Heather?
Did they say her name?
I could swear that they did, yes, BC Reacher. Because they said Riger, I think.
But I think they said, oh, maybe they did, yes.
But what I'm asking you, because I have other hears that said it was not talking to me, it was talking, that they said he was talking to Heather because they wanted to prove collusion for the fraud. And Heather did not object to that.
You know what? Okay, this is my first instinct, and I'm going to go with this. I don't think they said who he was talking to.
Right. You know who it was.
Now, they did say that, but I'm going to tell you when they said that.
Okay.
They said that when he said...
Who's he? Who's he?
I'm sorry. When Randy took the stand to give his testimony,
yes.
and he tried to describe the UCC filings, he was stopped.
Right.
And so he said, okay, well, and she said, the question in the redirect.
And she is Cynthia Davidson, is that correct?
No, it was Anne-Marie.
Don't talk at the same time, I can't understand. Try it again.
It was Anne-Marie Spalto.
So okay, so let me get this straight. Randy's sitting down on
the stand
as a witness. Is he a witness,
yes,
or is he giving his relay of the facts?
A witness.
Okay, so he's a witness. He's being crossed by Spalto. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, actually, but yes.
No, yes.
No, I think he was still in his testifying stage. I really feel like he was telling his story, and she stopped him.
No, they're not allowed to stop him. Let me just say this. When he's giving his factual narrative, that is as if his lawyer was questioning him.
Yes, I got that. So that's why I'm trying to get clear.
I apologize.
So he is on the stand, and he, being Randy Keith Bean, is the witness.
Yes.
And Spalto is the prosecutor who is questioning him. Is that correct?
That is correct. She is doing her cross-examination.
So then to go back to this, in whatever question she asked him, Randy started to give his answer to state the facts and actually what happened, and he's trying to talk about the UCC filings from the One People's Public Trust 1776. Is that correct?
Yes. That is correct.
Okay. And so then, okay, and then it doesn't really matter. And then, so Spalto, because I'm trying to get to where we want to go, and then you guys can go.
You're doing a great job. I love you.
So Spalto, Anne-Marie, said,
yes.
I object, Your Honor. And Your Honor said sustained. And so she either re-said the question again, and then Randy said what? So tell me what Randy said now.
What Randy said now, because the question had to do with where did you get the paperwork for the factualized trust. She didn't put it that way, but that's what she was after. And he said, how did you know how did this happen? And he said, well, I'm trying to tell you, but it's all about documents that you won't let me talk about in court.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
And then, of course,
I'm sorry, I have to stop you for a minute, because I sure hope that everybody who's in this conversation can really appreciate the just sublime, blissfully expansive humor that Source has through each original. I mean, it's really important to take that in. Okay, I'm sorry. Keep going.
Now you know why I feel so fabulous.
Yes. Okay, keep going. So he said, I'm trying to tell you that. Basically, if you shut up, I could tell you. Okay.
Right. That's exactly what he said, but you won't let me talk about the documents. And she said, well, where did you get the paperwork that you took to Buddy Gregg and to the Ford dealership?
Uh-huh.
And that's when he mentioned
Yes. I mean, I just want to add this. First, he said that so she was implying he wanted to make sure that she realized that those documents that Heather gave to him, the factualized trust documents we've been looking at all day, were made for him by Heather. And that the reason he believed that those documents were accurate were because of the filings that he's not allowed to talk about.
That's correct.
And then he said that those filings, and she wanted to know where did he find those filings that they're not allowed to talk about. And he said the IUV. And she said, and who runs the IUV? Whose website is that? And then they said your name.
Okay, great. So now I'm going to take you back. You've cleared it up, but maybe clear as mud to other people, but I got it.
Okay, so, sorry.
No, that's fine. But what I'm trying to, this is really important, and it's really important.
Okay.
So when they played the voice recording, and they only played 1 minute and 14 seconds, I think you said the timestamp on that was.
Yeah, it was 1 minute and 29.
Okay, so they were trying to elicit, what they wanted is the exchange of someone else, some female voice talking to Randy, and they wanted to capture that particular thing where he says, don't they know there's an easier way to rob the Federal Reserve?
Oh, so they could try to...
And she's laughing, right? I mean, come on, guys. Write the script here. You're making a play, so let's write the script. We got to do a better job here. Write the script.
Yeah.
You got to see where they're coming from, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so now this is very, very important. My name came up. Your brain said, you know who that is, right?
Yeah.
And the guy who walked out next to Patricia said, hey, wait a minute. That's the lady from the website. And the reason he made that, because his brain, even though he didn't pull it in out of the ethers, went, hang on, that was presented as if Randy and Heather were talking on the phone together, laughing about trailers from a movie because they're having a good giggle because they're about to steal from the Federal Reserve. And Heather,
you must be right.
Yeah, I am
you
right.
Must be right. Because I'm saying because, and you will be proven so when the transcripts come out.
Well, however, that doesn't matter. Heather, the reason I'm bringing this up, because this is why it's very important for people. It's not so much he said, she said stuff, okay? The reason I got into you and got on you a little bit about that, because I couldn't get the he's and the she's and the right thing. So if even just being voyeuristic, people being voyeuristic in watching the court case of this, and actually now we're going to have a lot more people listening to this recording and others, because we actually have media now picking it up, and it's got legs. Okay, we're just going to use that.
I'm sorry.
It's got legs. Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
And so the reason that this is very important is that the way that this was presented in court, because I can feel it, so I know what's going in court, even though I'm nowhere near the courthouse and before I've talked to you. This was presented as Heather and Randy talking together. Heather did not object. Heather knows my voice. And as I chuckled hearing this, I thought, well, they could do forensic voice match on the call, and they don't have to do the words. They can just do the laugh.
Yep, that's true. Yep.
Okay? So this is more proof of corruption.
Yes,
this is
it
misleading, misrepresentation, and obfuscation of facts in an open courtroom.
Oh, let me just tell you about that, because there has been misrepresentation and obfuscation of facts all over the joint. There's just
yes, but this is very. Well, the reason that this one is particularly important is that it's irrefutable. They can't say they got it confused. You can do a forensic voice match on the thing.
Yes,
in fact, they couldn't say, well, we messed it up. This is the FBI. FBI is familiar with forensic voice match. They do it all the time. In fact, it should be, I would imagine it's SOP, meaning Standard Operating Procedure, to do a voice match when they're recording these recordings
Yeah.
to make sure they know who it is.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Okay, so I've kept you a long time, so let's just, is there one other thing that you want to wrap up with?
Yeah. Say what now?
Is there one other thing that you want to wrap up with?
Well, I guess not. I think maybe we'll just save Randy's opening statement and testimony for tomorrow when we all get together, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think that's good, because then you'll have, you'll be fresh and you've had a chat with your pillows and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. But now there is one little cliffhanger that we could share.
Okay. Great.
Of course, you heard it from Judy. I only heard it third hand. Oh, can we share it? I already texted this information to you. Can we share it?
No, because I want to confirm it first.
I gotcha. Okay. You confirm, and then yeah.
Because we have legs now. I want to make sure that we're and everything is, could be a new point of.
Right. I feel you too. So please, because we still have 2 hours to go, please text us if you find out anything, because I sure would be interested to know.
Yeah, no guarantees. I mean, I guarantee I will text you when I find out, but no guarantees I will find out tonight.
Oh, I get that. I understand that. Okay, and for everyone else that's listening to this, thank you so much for paying attention to us, and all I can tell you is to go within yourself. Don't let anyone else tell you what to think. Don't just go with what you've always heard as just because they tell you that this is the way it is, it doesn't mean it is. Listen to your heart and go within and feel into it for yourself. That's all I got to say. Sheila out.
All right. Great. Awesome. Much love. Have a good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lizzie. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, it is 9:26 p.m. Eastern Time, January 26, 2018, and I'm talking to Katie, who's in the other vehicle, on the road again. Cool. So I don't want to keep you too long because you're on the road, and I actually want you focused on the road, but if you can, because I know you have reams of notes, so just kind of in your mind's eye, highlight a couple things for us that you thought were particularly caught your attention.
Okay. Well, so this morning they started off again with Sean O'Malley, who was the senior VP of or senior chief of something of the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
And he, the one thing that stuck out to me is that he kept mentioning that when Randy pulled the funds, that there was no account. The account didn't exist. No account didn't exist. And I have this like multiple times throughout my notes. And so for me, I was like, okay, so you're saying that that's basically like that's the reversal code that was showing. And so when I actually accessed these accounts, my reversal code, I believe it was either like R34 or R43. I can't remember specifically what number it was. But it stated, like the statement that Wells Fargo sent me stated limited participation by a state or government supervisor. And so I wanted to, so I was like curious as to more information on the reversal codes themselves. So I took some notes of that. I also noticed, this is the morning, the first half of the morning. I also noticed that he was stating, because they brought up the YouTube video that Harvey Dent did, I believe back in July, and he said multiple times that, basically insinuating, and I quoted some things he said, insinuating that we're stupid to believe that stuff, and that anyone who tried to do this is just greedy, and I know he mentioned like gullible and things like that. But what I found really interesting is one of the exhibits, they showed a screenshot of the it was the Federal Reserve Board of Governors page that basically sent out the communication saying, hey, look, like, this is a scam. People are using the Social Security numbers with routing numbers to pay their bills. This is not legitimate, da-da-da. They had on their site. And so Heather was asking what other ways they inform the public, things like that. And they got into the topic of, you know, what technically is, like, valid information that's provided on the internet, right? Like, and he basically insinuated, you know, any
fake
YouTube
news
video.
and not fake news.
Exactly. Well, right. No. And so it was really interesting because so this is why I found this funny, because he was talking about, like, yeah, well, what technically is, like, a validated source to get information from, but then, you know, Heather asked specifically, like, okay, well, what do you deem a validated source to receive this type of information from? You know, if there were any type of bank accounts or anything in general, and he goes, well, only the Federal Reserve. And then what clicked in my mind was, okay, when was the last time the Federal Reserve was actually audited?
Right.
You know, and so that stuck out to me. Well, and then so that's kind of what I specifically remember during the morning. And then the second half of it, when we went to break, I pulled Heather aside and I let her know my observation on the reversal codes because I was really curious. You know, I was curious to just know more about it. Like, I wanted to know what his take was, like, if that was the only code, like, what, I just wanted, you know, I was curious more information on it. And so later on in the second half, she kind of dug into it a little more and even asked him specifically if there was a reversal code that was limited participation. And he said no. And then talking to other people, they said that after, you know, because all I heard was him just say no to it.
Mm-hmm.
But talking with, like, Sheila and Lisa, they said no. They heard him say no, and then he, you know, backdated and clarified, well, not that I'm aware of or not that I know of.
Well, yeah, because it was a new implementation when they had a huge cadre of people in the back room who had to manually reverse the codes because they were had to manually insert the reversal codes in there.
Yep.
Because original through the electronic system was passing. It was bypassing what the people were trying to do, and in other words, the machine
right. Yep.
was clearing it through, and they had to have whole cadres of people to. That's why it wasn't a code. They didn't have those codes.
Ah, okay. Well, because they
don't reverse money. It doesn't work
right.
that way.
Right. And he even, like, he said he was, like, because the only code, because he kept saying that it came back, no account exists, the account doesn't exist. But he also, I mean, he did state that was code, like, R03 or something like that.
Uh-huh.
For that one. Finally, when she asked about it. So, yeah, so that stuck out to me in particular. And then, oh, you're going to love this one. So later on, this was after that break, when we came back, and he actually said, because, you know, they were pointing out.
And this is O'Malley. This is O'Malley.
Yes,
O'Malley.
This is still O'Malley. Yes, this is all still O'Malley. Heather was pointing out, you know, the fact that this is obviously a vulnerability in the system, right?
Right.
And it's and you know, just the common sense of knowing this vulnerability. Why does it exist? Like, if you guys know there's a potential that people can commit fraud because of, you know, because he basically pointed out that as long as you have a account number and a routing number that goes together, doesn't matter what name's on the account, that it will go through.
Right.
That's what he said.
He said or she said?
Well, she asked questions that led him, like, she made sure for him to specify that.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So
if you have a matching 9-digit number and the proper routing number, then it goes through. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And so that's what he was saying in regards to that. And then he made it a point to say, he said, well, and it's so funny because David was the one who quoted this because he laughed when this guy said this. But he said that the system isn't designed, that if the system caught fraud 100% of the time, that it wouldn't stimulate our economy or something to the extent of, like, we would not have a good economy. And I was like, you've got to be shitting me. Like that, like like, are you kidding me? Like, that's a joke, right? Like,
so a
you're
certain amount of fraud is good for the economy? Is that what I heard you
yes,
say?
yes, and he didn't even just say it once, okay? Like, he said it, like, so he's on the time when David caught it, and then I caught him saying it, referring to it, in the similar manner again.
Poor Heather must have holes in her tongue from all the chomping she has been doing, because she doesn't want to be, kind of deviated from her plan. She's going with the flow. She doesn't want to be deviated. And she has to pick the best. I mean, these are like a blooper roll. She's got to pick the best blooper that will give her the most mileage to go down. So her tongue must absolutely be so sore from chomping on it. Okay, I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, you're fine. It was that was my exact reaction to that. Like, and it was very interesting. So,
well, that's reassuring. Isn't it reassuring to you to know that a certain amount of fraud is good for the economy?
Oh yeah, that is so reassuring. Yeah, and to know the fact that the Federal Reserve and the government are completely okay with that. Yeah, that definitely puts me in a warm, fuzzy feeling when it comes to this whole situation. Like, I'm telling you, BZ, like,
on CNN.
Well, no, I know, that's so funny because Dave and I were like, we should quote that on a shirt and wear it, like, the 100%, that we can't stop 100% of fraud because it wouldn't be good for our economy. We should just quote that and wear that around, because that's some good stuff right there. You can't make that up.
Hey, for people who are listening, that's a meme, guys. You can get that meme out there.
There you go.
Get it. Go. Come on, being and doing.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a really great idea. Wow, that's funny. So still on Sean O'Malley, so the last two questions that Heather asked him were just freaking priceless. So the one question was, does the Federal Reserve participate in any fraudulent activity? And he said no. And then quickly she asked, does the Federal Reserve participate in any any sex trafficking, not violations? Do they participate or involved in any type of sex trafficking? And it caught everybody so off guard that the prosecution objected to that comment, but missed the fact that he said no to the fraudulent activity.
Okay.
So I found.
So he's perjured himself on record.
Basically, yeah.
And he didn't answer the sex trafficking, which is, it's not a left field question, by the way, just in case anybody's paying attention.
Right.
That's just an aside. I thought I'd been there. But anyways, so Svalto or Davidson objected before he could answer that.
Davidson,
no as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Davidson
okay. So she got one count of it, but she didn't get what she was going for was a knockout second count of it.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I thought that was pretty awesome. And then moving into the rest of it, so I'm trying to think. So they had a couple more witnesses. Nothing big really stands out in my mind right now. But then once Davidson rested, once the prosecution rested their case, that's when both Heather and Randy began to, start introducing their testimonies, and Randy started. I'm thinking, I don't know if this was happened before this, or I think she might have brought this up with one of the other witnesses. But Heather
who's she? Heather?
Heather, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
She made it a point to make a comment about the sovereign citizen statement, which I found which was awesome because, and I'm not sure if this was during court, because Barlin was talking, so I'm wondering, I don't know if this is on a break when they were talking about their, I'm not really sure. I'll have to go back in my notes to see when she specifically asked it.
Was she bringing this up around, you mean maybe around Rule 29? Or was it?
Maybe, yeah. That might have been. Yeah, that might have been when she was bringing it up. And the court.
And what did she say? Tell us what she said regarding the sovereign citizen.
She framed the question around basically does the around the court recognizing this case as a sovereign citizen case. or something along those lines. So I don't know specifically I can't recall specifically what she asked, but it was along the lines of them basically deeming this case a sovereign citizen case. And Barlin, quickly responded back like, the court has never in any of the evidence called this a sovereign citizen case. That is not, what they have, basically it's not what they had alluded to, and so they denied it, the court denied it being considered a sovereign citizen case, which I find extremely, this is why this stuck out to me, because when I was there, when Lisa and I went into the court on October 18th for the jurisdiction hearing,
right,
we got up there pretty early. We were walking in the courtroom, but it wasn't open yet, and I don't know if it's like the U.S. Marshal or who it is that, the guys that they are kind of like, manage the door and they open everything. Yeah. He came up to Lisa and I and he was like, "Oh, are you guys here for the sovereign citizen case?" So you're literally telling me
the guy who came up to you and Lisa was the same gentleman in court that Randy pointed to and said that they was asked to stand up and identify himself, and he said, "I am Special Agent."
No.
He wasn't the same guy?
No, it wasn't, because this guy actually, because that was the FBI agent. This guy actually worked for the courts. I don't know if he was like a U.S. Marshal or what he was, but he actually worked for the court system.
Okay.
And we came in contact with him on October 18th. So this happened on the 18th when he asked Lisa and I if we were there for the sovereign citizen case, and we looked at each other like, no, like we're not, like that's not what the, like we're not here for a case for that. So the fact that happened on the 18th, and then now all of a sudden during the trial, they're completely denying ever alluding to it being a sovereign citizen case, is contradictory in itself, because you literally, like somebody in your own courthouse, refer to it as that.
Well, because the light bulb went on that sovereign citizen is an oxymoron, and nowhere can they have it on record that Heather and Randy have ever gone by that. Nowhere on the IUV has anybody ever gone by that. In fact, never shall the twain meet.
Right, but it's okay for all the mainstream media to go ahead and label it,
but they got to
credit what they're doing.
They've got a story to sell. They've got a perspective they need to sell. They have instructions from their handlers, so you can't fault them.
I know.
They're doing what they're doing, and they're in many cases either completely inept and out to lunch or scared to death, and sometimes a combination of those. So that's fine.
That's true. Yeah, but that just really stuck out to me, because it's like we keep getting all of this, I keep seeing everything about it being a sovereign citizen, and then here you go denying that that's what it is. So I found
now
Barlin
really has now is on record in court, and we'll show in the transcript, but there was a reporter in the courtroom today, and who actually came there because of the USA Today article of painting them sovereign citizens. So now the Superior Court judge, he's the top kahuna in the judgenesses in Eastern District of Tennessee, has clearly said absolutely not only not is this the case, but absolutely not, we never have and never shall be and never will. Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah. I know, it's not great.
Yeah.
So that really stuck out to me. When Randy was up there giving his testimony, they were going back and forth so fast that it was like hard for me to like process not just that, but like to take notes on it. There was a lot more back and forth.
So you're talking about where he gives his statement of facts and he just goes through it and no one can interrupt him.
Well, yeah, but they like to interrupt him anyway. Yeah, no. So he was going through. He did do an opening statement, and then which was really nice, because he basically he described it very well as to how they're painting the picture, and he basically just asked, like, I know they're painting the picture to look this way or to look a certain way, but basically keep an open mind and really look deep into what it is that is being said. So it was.
So Randy was in the building and gave a beautiful opening statement. Is what I heard you say.
Yes,
yeah,
it was great. It was great.
Okay.
And so,
well, the reason I'm clarifying that is because when you called in between the other call, I was in the middle of an email to Randy because he had emailed me, and he wanted to know how he sounded in court. So now I have a clarification of what to write back in the email to him.
Yeah, for sure. And and Randy, because they're trying to catch him on certain things, but he did bring up really good points. He brought something that stuck out to me was when he talked about the Patriot Act that they enforced, created, whatever, right after 9/11, that basically increased security when it came to what was it, not online payments, but I think I don't know if it was online payments or to ACH, but he explained it really well. Yes. And so I love that he brought that up, and he was firm in what he knew. I'm trying to think of some other things that he brought up too that were really good. Something that I wrote down is that the thing is people have to understand that everything that we talk about, that we say, he said it in court when it comes to us being the value, that that's how they harvest the energy, and I mean he said all of that, and and it was so funny because Anne Marie Sabolto was like, she was like, so you're telling me that you're unlimited value, and he was like, yeah, and so are you. He was like, yeah, you too. And I mean, it was great because it wasn't like, and he even brought up, he was like, it's not about the money. He was like, they're like, why did you take so much? He was like, it's not about the money. Like, it's about, it's about the, what's going on within the systems. He was like, I worked for the military, which I did not even know. He was like, I worked in the military, and that's when I discovered that they were actually listening in onto conversations on regular U.S. citizens. And he was like, and that's not okay. Like, that's not right. Right. And, and he just wanted to understand more about it. And it's like, yeah, you find out that there was these accounts in your name, and you're excited about it because you're like, what is this? I mean, I felt the same way. Like, I went through the same reaction, I feel like, when he discovered this. And so it was really awesome to listen to his full story on it.
Well, and it's particularly poignant if he did have a lawyer, and he was in, we'll say, in a court drama or something. What he did was come across, not only Big Randy was in the building, which is very important because he feels strong. When he's united in himself and in his heart, he's unstoppable. All of us are. Each one of us is.
Right.
In our own different way. But he also came across as a very, when he does that, he comes across as incredibly powerful, incredibly well-spoken, and just a lovely, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you better now.
And he comes across as just a lovely, lovely being. And for the jury knows that they've now heard exactly how he was captured, exactly how he was treated during that, and that he's been in jail for over 6 months, and all of this kind of thing. And so part of their heart is going, well, wait a minute, if what he and Heather are talking about is really so, and that they really are doing this to bring this to light, and there is not a shred of bitterness or contempt or any kind of anger, and he's pointing out in examination on the stand from Svalto that it's you too. This is for you too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
to
me, that's what I've heard. That is the most singular moment in that courtroom because it's a holy smokeroonies. It's a heart activation opening of immense proportion. That's what the shift, you felt a shift in energy. That was it. It was may not be at that exact time stamp, but it was the heart opening that happened to every being in the courtroom today with the result of that exchange.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool.
I just love, I mean, to me, I think that's really important that people understand that people understand that, I mean, that they're doing this for everyone and they're sitting that in court. Like that, I mean, who, like, seriously, who in their right mind is going to put themselves in that situation,
right?
Purposely, you know,
because people don't have courage of their convictions, and they don't have an understanding of the truth of who they are, and they hide. There's an internet world where you hide behind some moniker of cheesy whiz or whatever.
Cheesy whiz.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, that's fabulous. I want to let you get back to driving. Do you have one other thing that particularly stands out, or a read of the energy, or anything you want to wrap up with?
No, I think I felt like there was one more thing, but I can't remember it right now.
Okay.
I think I'm good for right now.
Okay, well, we will do, if you're up for it tomorrow, Sheila can get in touch with you. We will do a Zoom recording, to kind of go look at the first, basically a wrap-up of the prosecution's case.
Okay.
And insights for what you feel from, the outside looking in, is the defense's case fully in swing on Monday? And
yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Cool. And I'll end the recording here. So hang on one second.
Okay.
Okay, and then I just want to tell you that you're all set for Sunday night, and all the paperwork's faxed to them, so they're all set. I would, just to make sure, because and I will do it as well, I would call probably tomorrow evening or tomorrow afternoon late, and confirm yourself.
Okay.
And then just remind them that they should have, there's an fax authorization on file, and to Martin, that was sent to Martin Winfrey's attention, and that's how you will be not only you're confirming the reservation, that's how you're holding the room, and that's how the room will be paid.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much, BZ.
Yeah. And just so you know, I don't know if Sheila told you, but what I said to her when she went down to talk to him is that you're there covering, so this is their story, right? So you're there covering this trial for this blog, and that the owner of the blog will be calling to pay for the room.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Right? So it's all absolute, and it's so too.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. It's so funny because I texted my boss and I was like, yeah, just I'm coming this week, I'm going back on Monday, and it's funny because so I'm supposed to go to a conference, a women's conference in Charlotte, that a few of us were selected to go to, and I was like, and he basically sent me a text back saying, oh, well, you need to confirm with Sharon, who's the VP of supply chain. He's like, he's like, don't you have prior obligations to Sharon? You need to confirm with her, and da-da-da-da. And I was like, yeah, I'll let her know, but I'm not going to be there, so I just need you to know, I'm not going to be there. So, I was like, it doesn't matter what you say at this point, I'm taking vacation, so if I'm not going to be there, I'm not going to be there. Sorry, this is, consider it a personal emergency, but this is, this is a matter that I need to take care of.
Absolutely.
So,
you're absolutely right. Cool.
Yeah,
all right, well, drive safe, and I will talk to you tomorrow, okay? Much love to you.
Sounds good. Love to you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.